Portions of the program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, education, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This video was made for entertainment purposes and is transformative in nature.
To Lindsey Buckingham in Akron, who can tell us more about this video and what things are looking like there this morning. Lindsey.
Good morning to you, Isabel. The video will be released later this afternoon, as you mentioned, and we're told it is incredibly difficult to watch. Meanwhile, right here in front of the Akron police station, you can see heavy police presence, some city trucks blocking off the streets, and barriers are up. That's all ahead of a planned protest called Justice for Jayland Walker at 10 a.m. Now, going back to that video release, here's what we know so far. Last night, a group of protesters gathered at Second Baptist Church in Akron in a call for action for 25-year-old Jayland Walker, shot and killed by Akron police officers early Monday morning after leading them on a high-speed pursuit. They say they want answers.
Our concern is, why didn't the tasers work? Our concern is, why so many shots? Our concern is, why every officer have to shoot?
3 News Investigates has confirmed 2 of the officers first used tasers before 8 officers fired over 90 times, striking Walker over 60 times. Today, the public will see that video when it's released after a 1 p.m. press conference. Akron Mayor Dan Horrigan and Police Chief Steve Mylett will speak to, quote, provide further details on the police shooting. Now we're told Chief Mylett will meet with some of Jayland Walker's family members before that press conference, allowing them to view that video before it's released. After that 1 p.m. press conference, a 2:30 p.m. peaceful march and rally will start at Quaker Station. We're told members of the Akron NAACP will lead it, and it will end at Akron City Hall. Isabel, lots to process here. Obviously, there's a lot of setup going on, so they're anticipating something significant.
Yeah, and we will certainly keep an eye on that throughout the day. Lindsey Buckingham in Akron, thank you very much for that live.
Hello and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I am your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Mind, and this is WeUpReport. WeUpReport is to bring news, articulate, transmit, communicate, insinuate, develop, investigate, decode, unveil, spread the news, whether it's by news, video, website, or quotes from publications. As I articulate this information, I ask that the creator of the universe be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this land that you call the United States, we today in the present generation, we give honor to our ancestors. You know what the motto of my show is? I'm never gonna tell you what I heard. I'm only gonna tell you what I know. Today's date is July 4th, 2022. Welcome back once again. It is your host, been gone almost 6 months. There is a story behind it. Maybe I will reveal it, or I will wait till I go live. But After that long hibernated, let's say, hiatus, there's some things that made Mr. Blow Your Mind had to come up out of it and time to get back into the game. As you see there in the intro, as the video is showing you about the situation that has happened in Cleveland, where a young brother of 25 years age named Jayland Walker had been shot at 90 times, reported to say he's been hit 60, and based on what the reports will reveal in this dissertation of this story, and there's some history that is actually an anniversary that many have not heard, because for me, as WeUpReport has reported, they made sure that didn't become known. So we're going to see how that anniversary and this situation has some things to seem to be somewhat in together. So let's stay tuned as we finna get into this broadcast. Hey, how's y'all doing, everybody? Again, this is your host, Mr. Blow Your Minds, and welcome to WeUpReport. First and foremost, I want to say for all those who stood around and did not leave the WeUpReport, my day ones, the original day ones, what's good to my subscribers? What's good, everybody? Want to thank you for those who stayed around knowing that the day would come that Mr. Blows Your Mind would be back, unless Mr. Blows Your Mind couldn't come back due to not being here on the planet anymore, but that has not happened. I am back. Want to give out a shout out to one particular subscriber who's always been consistent giving stories. It's not that I'm not trying to do your story, brother. Some of them things we cannot talk about because of the way that, YouTube do what it does. You know who you is. I don't have to put you out there. You know that I'm making sure that I'm acknowledging you. And those who will like to give stories, again, the information is up there. Again, I've been out for 5-6 months. I'm the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. Those of you who are new, welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. WeUpReport. Happen to go down the aisle, happen to see some of my old archives. If something make you feel some kind of way, just remember that the truth don't need no partner. Now, those who would like to do some donations or want to give some kind of contribution to help me to stay in doing, because again, I've been around for 10 years and can't get 100 views. When I've seen a lot of people who I've been before and they have elevated and did their shows, I myself do the reports. I do feed you well for those who do understand what I do. And so you can see it on your screen there with the Cash App. You want to hit the WeUpReport. That's capital W, capital U, capital R, report. Send what you want to send. We will appreciate all donations because we're trying to come, because we know that news is going to be the thing that needs to be reported. I want to also give a shout out to my comrades and all of those who are part of the black media who have been doing what they were doing. I just believe that what I do, that what everybody else does, because everybody has their lane, that there's going to be really, we're going to have some people on the watchtower seeing the things that are coming that need to be reported, because a lot of things are happening. And so this is what we got in this business to do. We actually created for ourselves, but support will be needed if you want us to keep doing what we're doing, because otherwise we're going to have to get out here so we can survive. So any contributions that anybody would like to present, those who have already tried, I know there's one particular, I won't say nobody's name, you tried to give something, but they had canceled it. So if you want to go back and try to do it again, I would deeply appreciate this. So anyway, let's get into today's show, right? So many of you might have clicked on the video due to the simple fact that you've seen this here, right? Jayland Walker shot at 90 times. Let me say that one more again. Jayland Walker shot at 90 times. Isn't that more than enough for the situation at hand? According to what the reports, for those who don't know the entirety of those reports, we will go over a lot of that in this show here. But to say that 90 times when you have no weapon on persons or in facilities after they then already did their business, a lot of questions are needed to be answered. And there is also a story that goes back. Again, when we talk about Cleveland or Ohio in itself, we have Tamir Rice that happened there. And then there's the story that I will show you as I call a segment of my show, what I call the flashback. Flashback, when you see the flashback come up on this particular show here, flashback is just to show you that I had already in my archive have done these stories and going to go back and show you the things that I talked about at that particular time to reveal, just in case sometimes you can't even get those clips anymore because they done already removed them. But I'm going to do a flashback on this particular show to show you about a particular story that happened also in Cleveland, the ridiculousness of how many shots that was taken in that particular incident and how that ended up taking about 7 years to get to a ending. And let's see, will this be the catalyst for how this story with Jayland Walker proceed to go when it goes through its process of trial and determination? Will that be the catalyst of how it may end up turning? And that'll just be what we here in WeUpReport will be showing. Maybe there's some correlation to what may happen in the future. So anyway, thank each and every one of you for coming over here, clicking on the video. You can like the video, dislike the video, comment, share, subscribe, do all those good things. Okay? So, let's get into this here. Right? Let's go ahead and get into it. Because again, it's always two sides when people are looking at stories, right? You know, they say there's three sides to the truth. There's your side, there's the other side, and then there's the truth. Let me say that one more again. There's always three sides to a story. There's your interpretation of what took place. There's the other person who you are happen to be either in combat with or tournament with or disagreement with or confrontation with. And then there's also just the truth of really what took place, right? So with that being said, let's look at how they, according to a report that I had found, that was actually talking about how really these officers had been on what they said leave, right? You know, think about that. I mean, you're talking about 90 shots and a specific amount of officers that are present. And I will lay out my interpretation of how I'm viewing what I seen yesterday when they released the video, because I won't show the video. It's in respect. And let me say this. WeUpReport give our condolences out to the Walker family, from my family to your family, and to the WeUpReport family. We give our condolences out to you. And we know this is a trying time for a lot of people who will celebrate today as a national holiday. For we as Black Americans, I don't know how we feel like independence is really having anything to do with us, but you got a day off from work and get a chance to get with your family and so forth, drink some beer, eat some food, get around some families. And again, here was a situation that happened based on, we've been in this country trying to talk about police reform, right? We've been talking about how to get some kind of legislation to take some of the monotonous that is really that pertains to civilians, because some people will try to twist it up and try to say, well, you guys, you know, the criminals. Well, when Black folks do not be out here advocating for justice for criminals. Let's get that straight, and let me say that one more again. Black folks do not be out here advocating on behalf of criminals when everybody can see the wrongness in it and understand the story. We're talking about defending those who are civilians under situations that seem to not have this kind of outcome, right? This is what we have a problem with, and you should have a problem with collectively. No one should feel like that's the way that, even if somebody should run, it's a crime to run, yes, but how you deal with it at the end, if you can't control yourself, and we understand it's not easy being police, and we are not anti-police. Police are needed for certain situations, so we're not going to sit here and ridicule. We're just talking about certain situations. Again, it don't smell right, it don't look right, so we know damn well it don't taste right. And so we have a problem with it, and you should have a problem with it. But again, this is what it is. So they say, based on the fact that these officers that were involved in this situation were placed on leave, they say after the shooting of, we're going to say, Jayland Walker. We're not going to call him the black man. He has a name. So we're going to address him according to who his mama called him. And so that's what we're going to say. Now, again, in this report that I had read, I was talking about how they said the unspecified amount of police officers that was involved. But if you heard in the report, as it said, or the news clip, it said 8, right? It said 8. And so these officers didn't say 8 entirely, but they said there's officers, but they didn't give a specified number, that they were placed on administrative leave. And that, again, Jayland Walker was only 25 years old. For those of us who were 2 times that age, and some of them who were above 25 years old, and have lived, 25, you still like fidgeting in the dark, you know how, like in your house, if it's dark and you know where everything is, you can maneuver in your house because you know everything is. That's why it's really an advantage. If somebody breaks in your house and it's pitch black, you can move because you know where everything is. Somebody who's new in the house will trip and fall and bump into something. So the same thing, like 25 is still like groping in the dark and not knowing how life is, and you trying to figure it out as you maneuver through it. So he was one who had still things that he had to work out to get himself in line to what he was trying to do. And they talked about some of the things in the report. And so they talked about how the police said they had continued to drive after Mr. Walker for pulling him over, what they claim is an unspecified traffic violation, right? Unspecified. So in order for you to get to the end, right? So you have to have what initiated it, right? And for many people who had their encounters, and we're not going to say that every encounter that we have ever dealt with police have always been bad. But a lot of us know that sometimes you could be DWB, right? You're driving while you black. And according to when we see in the video that they showed, and again, let me say something. I seen that video, and after watching that video, I had to go into sleep to deal with it in a spiritual way, because I actually did this on the 3rd. But you know what happened? I had to come back and redo this video is because I had a pause in my video for about 20-30 minutes because I was on mute. Those who do shows like this, have you ever did a show, did a taping, and then come to find out that your damn mic was on mute? Well, that's what happened. I had first segment up to about 30-40 minutes, and then I went into my commercial and came back, and then my mic still was on pause, and I came back, I said, I'll be damned. So I had to do it again. Otherwise, you would already have this in front of you. So I had to do it today, being July 4th. But anyway, with that being said, we know that discretionary, when it comes to traffic violations, once they write the ticket and specify what it is that your violation is, still don't mean that that's really what happened, right? Let's be honest. Everybody sometimes want to say that people make up situations, and it's like every cop is a great cop, that some cops don't embellish, or again, they're using what they call their hunch, you being suspicious. And we think that could be good police when you catch the right person. But when those situations aren't there, not merited to your hunch, and you were wrong, why continue on with the process instead of just saying, okay, I assumed that I thought this guy was not who he was or she was. But we're going to be persistent. So a traffic violation, for those, again, who've been, long subscribers and seen some of the stuff, you remember that one time I did a interlude about a real situation that I had talked about, as I was one that I didn't hear nobody else talk about the air freshener. Remember that, how I did that interlude and I gave you a reenactment about me being in a situation and the police pulls up and dealing with me and pulling me over for an air freshener? Remember the young brother that was in Minnesota that ended up being killed by the one woman that, they gave leniency on her, taser. Now again, I've been gone for 5, almost 6 months. There's been so many stories I've seen come across the screen that I've seen some of the corner did not cover, but I would have covered it. But because of my being incapacitated, and I'm going to tell you, if the last video that I did, there's some kind of hocus pocus that went down with that last video that ended up transpiring, put me out for 5-6 months. I will reveal that at another time again, maybe do a live. When I come live, for those who will be anticipating that, we can go there. You can ask me questions and so forth, and I'm going to tell you what I believe what took place. But anyway, so I did the reenactment about the air freshener, and then you end up seeing him getting killed for that. For a lot of people, was like they didn't believe that. So I, being from where I'm from and dealing in my life with a lot of those situations, I was seeing how the new way that they will be dealing with us would be all in the criminal, because they were seeing that a lot of us was not in the criminality. You had to catch me either selling drugs, robbing somebody, something in order to really accost me. So somebody came up with a new ingenious idea that to pull people over for traffic violations, having a hunch, and then maybe through your search you may find something. Maybe a warrant, maybe they riding dirty, or whatever it might be. And now this is good police work. But it's also a way to just really to be antagonizing and really just, again, what they say, how they say, what's that word they use? They say that well, you just really being specific about your targets or who you after, right? So anyway, so that means when traffic violations don't necessarily have to be traffic violations, the ticket is going to specify, but we talk about what really happened. Yes, you could be speeding and caught speeding. Yes, you can go through a red light, right? But if somebody got their eye on you and they have the jurisdiction to be able to have the authority to say, specify, and they could be lying and then make you go through the process, you got to still go through the process and to find out whether they lied or not. But you have to deal with it in real time. And let's just say for the fact of a traffic violation allows the officers to have their right to be able to not intervene, get your name, find out the background, be suspicious. Next thing they find something that really it wasn't there. Now, if you riding dirty, you should get caught. It's just good hunch and good police work. But if you just innocent, a civilian, a L7 as they say, then why not let them just go about their long head? Why pursue even further? So anyway, we see that this be happening a lot more than none. We're not going to say that every situation is that, but we see that that those who are the officials in Akron, Ohio, they are getting prepared, as they say, for the protests, because releasing of the video, and based on those who've seen the video yesterday, my question was about that video that they showed was, why did they show the video of the last person coming to the scene? Right? Of all the videos, I'll say this says there's 8 officers. Let's say that 8 different cars, 8 officers. You showed us the one that came last, right? From the back, and then he getting there, and then we see in the video is very shaky. In order to have a good assessment, if you want the public to know, shouldn't they have been from every angle? Or we know that's what, you know, this lawyer that is for the family of the Walkers, he will be able to see that. The family declined to see it because they didn't want to see Jayland, you know, enduring what he had went through, right? So anyway, they show that, and then how shaky that video was, and then you just kind of, they freeze frame and stuff, so you see he had a mask on. Now, him having a mask on when they still have not declared that this pandemic is over. Let me say that one more again. They have not declared that the pandemic is over. So is it suspicious that people out here wearing masks? You know, some people just give them the reason to wear the mask, but have they declared a national, the national stoppage of, let's say, the pandemic is over? We haven't heard that, but people just out here like everything has been okay. So anyway, so him being black, driving about 12:30 a.m. in the morning, having a mask on, is he suspicious at this particular time? Is he suspicious? But we had to say at a traffic violation so that we can try to take this assumption and make it fruition to be what we want it to be. But under that circumstance, black driving 12:30 a.m. and got a mask on, is that suspicious to you? Depending on who you are, right? Okay. And I'm not saying that a hunch by police officers thinking that could have been right. But then it seems, as we're going to lay out everything that was said according to this report, was it or was it not right? Because again, there's a history that's going to kind of correlate to the same thing. The assumption of what somebody thought they heard or what they thought they saw, but no one substantiated it. But anyway, so they're getting there and they're, you know, getting ready to this protesting. That again, as you've seen in the clip there were people out there, as you see in the video, I'm going to show you, there were people out there that were protesting. They're out there and on behalf of Jayland Walker. What had been reported, those are part of the family and so forth, and those are activists and community people and so forth, showing that 90 shots, is that not an overkill? How do you get 90 shots under a traffic violation situation? We're not going to talk about what they end up finding to justify. We're going to talk about under the scenario of what took place, and does it justify that? And based on what I'm going to talk about as I get more to that particular part of the report, we have to ask ourselves, under that circumstance, I ain't gonna say that it's not gonna justify it, but we have to see, like, okay, was it too much? Was everybody doing too much, or was it really within the protocols of just being policemen? Well, we'll see, right? Let me get into that. So anyway, they were out there protesting, right, and getting prepared for the release of that video that they showed yesterday, being Sunday. And again, you know, prior to that releasing of that video was talking about how Jayland Walker exited his vehicle and then he fled on foot through a parking lot, right? Which it would have been early morning Monday, right? Because it was 12:30, which is a new day. So from Sunday to Monday. So he got about 30 minutes of a new day, right? And so that's how that's going to. And we're going to look at that, because remember, I showed you in my thumbnail, right? Let me show you this about this. Right, show that thumbnail once again, right? So you see the thumbnail. You see Jayland Walker in the thumbnail. And that area that you see back there is where he was gunted 90 times, hit 60, but that's what they say. But maybe he could have been hit more than that. Right? He could have been hit more than that. And I think I see somebody about to do a report that is probably questioning he might have been hit more than that. But accordingly, we will look at, again, that parking lot as I get more into this report and show you so that you can have a better idea of it. Now, again, they showed the video, but like I said, that video in itself was very murky. It didn't really give you what you really needed to do, or to have a better understanding, because it was shaky. Again, I'm questioning, why did they want to show the last one more than the people who are more up close to see get a better view? We're getting a behind shaky, then all of a sudden the gun, and then you're freezing. Okay, you wanted really the way they did it. They gave you this long drive. And like I said, we didn't need no speech. You could have, you know, we didn't need all that. So I think it was the more dramatization. You know, a lot of people understand this come from a lot of movies. You know, a lot of times we make references about movies we done seen. And so that's kind of where that video came out. You let us be like in the pursuit of chase, right? As this police officer, you're seeing his hand on the steering wheel, and he turning, and then you're hearing a little bit on the radio. And then, I mean, they doing a nice period of time on the video instead of let's get to what we trying to get to. Why did you need the over dramatization of this long drive? So what they're doing is, for those who understand, was they're showing you that, you know, this build up, that they after somebody. They're really building it up until finally get to them. And so now they got the release. But anyway, let's move forward. So again, the footage shows that he was running away. Now again, they're going to say running away. Now everybody will take that situation of running away as a bad thing. But let's put it like this. 12:30 in the morning. They said that officers pulled him over, but it didn't specify how many officers, right? So officers could be 2 and a greater, right? And we end up knowing there was 8. Now, if it's an unspecified traffic violation, which they never specified what it is, I guess eventually we'll hear as the proceedings and go forth in the trials. But they don't say what it's pulling over. So why would you need more vehicles for a traffic violation? Unspecified at that. So we don't know whether 1, 2, or again 2, 3, 4, 12:30 in the morning. Maybe he had some prior engagements to some other officers. Maybe an officer who told him next time he's seeing that he was going to go to jail. We don't know. We don't know all the ins and outs, right? But we know that what we saw is the end result. And so, again, they want to specify him running, but it's 12:30 in the morning. More than one police officer is upon him. He felt threatened. He was scared, and he fled. Now, a lot of people say, and I'm not condoning the fact that he ran or fled. What I'm saying is, I can only speak for me under the circumstance, and you can only speak for you, but he did what he thought was best. We can tell people, that it's not a good thing for you to get out here and run, because you could be putting yourself in harm's way and allowing them to utilize that situation to get an outcome that they might want, right? You may be under, you might be among some people who this is what they've been waiting on. They want to put this notch on their belt to be in maybe some kind of secret club. We don't know. But anyway, so he ran. Again, they specified that he was unarmed, meaning on his person, where he was when after the shooting took place. We're not going to talk about what they end up finding in the vehicle. We're talking about on his persons, when he fled, when they caught up to him. He was unarmed. Okay? And they again specified that he was shot at 90 times. So if there's 8 officers, and if we would do the simple math, that means that each officer at least is 11 shots per officer will get you 88. So somebody might have had 12 or 13, and somebody could have shot more. But we just assumed simple math and given everybody who was part of it that had their guns out, each get 11 bullets per officer. And accordingly, that the protocol is for every bullet, you have to be accountable for what you're shooting for. Now, again, their protocol is shooting to the threat is disabled or dead. So, in their protocols, I believe, is shooting to, disarm or dead. And so if you have 8 people shooting at you at one time, I guess that's how you could get 90 bullets, right? Shot at you. So the lawyer that is representing is not, what's his name? What is it? The ambulance chaser. What's that brother name? I know what I'm talking about. But he didn't get there quick enough. They had their own lawyer, which his name is Bobby DeCello. And accordingly, he's seen the video before they dropped the video yesterday. And he seen it on Thursday. And his legal team, they said they visit the medical examiner's office and they reviewed the autopsy. Now, the autopsy in itself was just a report to tell you that he didn't die from any other kind of complications other than lead poison, right? He had too much lead in him, right? That's what it was. It's too much lead. Lead ain't good for you. A lot of us live in areas that they claim that anything built before 1970, they're talking about the lead paint, and all the lead in it. They're talking about how, as we're little, sometimes children will eat the lead paint and get high levels of lead in your water and so forth. But lead from a gun is not good for your health as well, right? Especially 90. How many bullets can a body take? We have some people who walk around talking about they've been shot 5 times, 6 times, right? And they say they still living. They didn't have enough lead for them. But everybody content of lead taking is not the same. What may take a person 1 shot may take others 5 and 6. But who can live after taking 90 shots and saying they got hit with 60? If he could live after taking 60 bullets, he'd be the baddest man on the planet. Anybody who could take 60 bullets would be the baddest man and not be dead, still mobile, breathing, right? So anyway, only see that in the movies. So anyway, they said they haven't finalized the autopsy. They did the autopsy. We know that he had to die from lead poison, right? Too many bullets in his body. So I don't know what other thing you need to finalize that other than just the count. Now, yes, you need to see the other thing that was going on in his body, whether he had some other, medical issues and so forth, but that is not what caused his death. Everybody knows, but seeing the video knows his death was lead poisoning. And so they said accordingly that the autopsy is going to support the fact that it says 60 bullets that was entered into his body. Now, this lawyer, DiCello, said he's been a lawyer for 22 years and he's never seen anything that what that video is going to show the public. In his 22 years, he's never seen that before. No one has. But I beg to differ. I don't know if he's been around for 22 years, and let's say that a situation that I'm going to go back and show you that happened in 2012, maybe he didn't see the video, but to say that anything remotely this close would be an understatement, because maybe they specified they didn't have as many as he had, but as the shots that was shot at him, if they say 90 for him, he's by himself. I don't got a story that's going to happen in the same place in Cleveland that two other people who are under the same situation, about another 47 more bullets than what he took, and it was two of them. So if they got combined 137 shots and he got 90 by himself, his was really an overkill. Is there a reason maybe there was to this? Maybe they were in a hot pursuit, or maybe it was, this is to send a message, right? It could have been to send a message. But what are you talking about, Mr. Butler? Well, we'll talk about that when I get to that, right? So anything. So the lawyer again, Mr. DiCello, said that he said 8. He's specifying that what he knows there's 8 officers that were involved in the shooting. The authorities won't specify how many it was, but you heard in that report that I just did, they said 8. So 8 will be the number that they're going to use as how many people were present when that took place, right? So let's take a quick break, and I'll come right back. Let's do this and let's come right back. Hey, you sitting here watching the video. Why you sitting there? Put your hand on that like button, click it, thumbs it up, share this video, comment. You can like or dislike it. We don't care about that. And also, if you ain't over here and subscribe, what you waiting on? Get yourself over there and subscribe to get on up to WeUpReport so you can stay up, because we going to keep you up. That's how you help keep this channel going. You can also do some monetary donations. We'll tell you about that later. But right now, wake yourself up, like, share, and comment. And don't forget, when you subscribe on that button, hit that put all notifications. All right, and we are back, right? Now again, on your screen, the Cash App is those who want to do any donations. That's WeUpReport, capital W, capital U, capital R. For any donations would be appreciated, because we're trying to be in this and try to be on the daily, and I do mean daily. So those who want to, you can do that. Now, according, they said the initial police report has stated, and going back to Thursday, they says what they wrote is that they tried to stop Mr. Walker, again about an unspecified traffic violation, again about 12:30 a.m. in the morning, and they say he did not stop. And so they continued to pursue him in this vehicle. That's what the report said, according to what they wrote. Now, I'm assuming all 8 officers wrote the same stating, or maybe not, because we don't know how many was that there initially. So when they say report and officers, it didn't specify how many, who they talking about. But anyway. And so according to what they say in their report, they said that Mr. Walker had discharged a gun while he was driving. Now, you remember, if you've seen that video and seen the live one yesterday when they first reported it and showed it, they gave you a still shot and they put a circle, and they saying that it looks like in his car that his light, there's a bright light. Could it be a phone? Is it a gun flash? Is it a lighter? Maybe he, he finna be fleeing. Maybe he finna smoke one. We don't know what the flash was. We can't substantiate whether that was a flash. But accordingly, the police report said that he discharged the gun. But in the report that they wrote, never specify how they knew that. They never said how they knew he did that. So did they hear a bang? Or did they, because according to the video, they try to show you a flash that they try to say, but the report that those who writing, and when you have a job as a mandate reporter and you have to give those reports, being very detailed is the thing that saves you, so that later on you kind of say, oh, I forgot about that. You write as much as you can remember at the time so that everything's specified, so that everything is in synchronicity, so that you ain't looking like you lying. So if you leave something blank, is it because it wasn't there, or maybe you forgot to say it was there? But accordingly, they said the report did not specify how they knew that he discharged the gun. But you did see in the video where the car has slowed down, and you see that Mr. Walker is getting out the passenger side, and the car's still kind of rolling, right? That's what we did see. And we see that the video did show that the officers were now on, as he flees from the car, they're now pursuing him. Remember, we get the video from the last vehicle that's pulling up, not the ones that's already present, that's on him, that were already yelling, freeze, get out of the car, whatever it was that they were saying, right? We don't see that. And so, according to the statements that these officers wrote in their report, they said they opened fired. Now again, go back to what you see. What did you see in the video? What did you see? Right? But according to what their statement said, that he opened fire on him, they said after what they claimed, the word is actions. Remember the thing back in the day, the cartoon, I can do my thing with action. Show me how. Remember that? To live, to work, to love. Y'all remember that? Action, right? What does action means? They say actions by suspect cause the officer to perceive he posed a deadly threat to them. Actions. What is actions? His movement, his motion, the operation, they call his discharge, his exercise, his practice. Practice, like Iverson, practice. His working operation, his functioning, his deed, his effort, his adventure, his conduct, his behavior, his manner, right? So his actions by the suspect cause the officer to perceive. Perceived is like assumption. What they say about assuming, y'all, you can make an ass out of you and me, right? They would say, assuming you can make an ass out of you and me, and that ass poses a deadly threat to them. So let's look at this. Going back, for those who've seen the video, we will not show that because we are giving respect to the family and what they're dealing with. And we don't want to keep reiterating and keep making this become numb. We want these things to have some kind of emotion and feeling in us so that it's not something that it becomes so frequent that it doesn't have no effect on us. And we will not show that to give the gratification of those who enjoy seeing that, right? We're not going to do that. So anyway, let's look at the actions. Let's go back and let me show you the parking lot, right? Let's show this parking lot. Okay? So that's the parking lot that he's running through. And that parking lot was just as empty as you see on your picture. But it's nighttime. Well, it's crack of day, 12:30 a.m., 12 at midnight is 12 midnight, and there's break of day, right? So the darkest time is at 12, right? Should be the darkest time. So anyway, It's dark. It's at night. He's fleeing. Now, they tell us there's a specified number of 8 police officers on this scene, right? The report says, as I told you, it was written, says that they assumed or perceived, without justifying how they knew whether he had shot a gun or not. But that's what the radio call went out stating. So everybody who is now coming on the scene is under the assumption, perceiving that he is shooting. Now, as you see on your screen there, and now I want to put hypothetically into your mind's eye for you to answer, for only you. If you was a police officer and you are assuming that, or you perceive to know by what you've been told and to believe, if the suspect that we are trying to apprehend is already been deemed shooting or shots fired, when he got out the vehicle and everybody is pursuing him, imagine in football. Now, some women may not understand what I'm saying, and some of you may understand. Just imagine somebody running. We're going to run a 22 dive, 24 dive, 26 dive, or we're just going to do a sweep. For those who understand, that's going under particular holes. And for a woman, just imagine somebody running. Even some dude may not even know about football. But anyway, he gets through the hole, gets past the defense, and get about 3, 4, 5 yards ahead. Now everybody behind him is now what? Trailing him and chasing him, right? You see it every time in football. You get that, and he'd be running after so long and nobody's catch. What does he do? He checks, right? Being a kid or being a teenager, just being out and running, isn't that natural what you do when you running and nobody is caught up to you yet? You look to see the distance between who is and who's gaining up on me. Now, that's from Jayland Walker's position. Now, you being the police officer, if you're chasing and a person is known to got a gun, how much do you run them down? Do you run them down like football, like you trying to tackle them? Now, they do specify that they tried to taser him, which they couldn't taser him. Now, they said, I don't know how you're trying to taser him when you're running. So you're trying to run and taser somebody when they tell you hitting a moving target is already hard enough to shoot somebody. What makes you think you could actually taser somebody and get them? Okay, I understand you're trying to do that. The trying itself is better than gunning him up like you'll end up doing. So the tasers didn't work. So now he's steady fleeing. But again, 8 people are in hot pursuit of this individual who they claim they shot, and it's really for a traffic violation, and he's running through this parking lot. Now, being Jayland Walker, see them trees back there? Looks like if you go back there, as dark as it was, I don't think nobody want police chasing them going through the woods. Let me say that one more again. I don't think nobody want the police chasing them and they going to go through them back in them trees, back in them woods, because whatever happened back there is going to be like Vegas. Whatever's in Vegas is going to stay in Vegas. Whatever happened behind them woods, whatever they said, it's like putting the money on the wood that the bed is good. Well, that's what's going to happen here. If you get back there, whatever the reports say, that's what's happened. So he, in his mind, was like, he knew he couldn't go back there. He knew it was going to happen. So what happens? Because again, 8 people chasing you. And we see it a lot of time in football. Somebody get them 4 or 5 yards, but there's somebody who's just as fast, can run maybe a 4-4, 4-5, and they gain and grind. They're catching up on you. So he can feel the presence of them gaining on him, right? So he decided to say, I'm not going to run no more. I'm going to stop. But he's turning his head. Let's say turn his head to the left or the right. As he turns his head, this is what they say they're perceiving as a threat. And they all got their guns out. Now think about it. They already have to have their guns out. And as he turns and slows down and stops and turns his head, they light him up. They light him up. Now, again, remember I said if you are the police officer and you're in that position, right? Do you follow somebody? It's like driving in a car. Can't you get a ticket for driving too fast for conditions, right? Meaning that somebody is in front of you and you driving so fast, because remember they teach you in driver's ed, or the rules of the road is stopping space. You should be for a certain amount of speed, certain amount of car length. So that gives you reaction time. So the same thing I'm saying here is, if police are pursuing a suspect, knowing he got a gun, do you not give yourself some distance just in case if he makes that move, right, that you had enough space so that you can react. Now, whether reacting is just to shoot itself or position yourself to defend yourself or get out the way. But him turning gave all the assumptions because it was hot pursuit. People are full of adrenaline and everything, and they anticipating because they're already under the assumption that you are shooting. So everybody lets loose. Now, after all the gun smoke is cleared, and we've come to find out that Mr. Jayland Walker is unarmed. Mr. Jayland Walker is unarmed. Now, how do you justify what's taking place? Everything that everybody is stating must be in sync and must make sense. Otherwise, there's some accountability that must happen. So we know we're going to go through another trial about police officers, right? And so when I go back to the report and look at what the lawyer, Mr. DeCello, said, that he, as a 22-year lawyer, saw no evidence in the video of Mr. Walker moving in a way that would put them in fear. This is him as a 22-year lawyer, a profession who does this for a living. Now, the police officers do it for a living as well. But their report stated that his actions, meaning him running, and that his movement perceived to be a threat by him turning. Does that justify in the minds of you? Because I can't answer for you. You have to only answer for you. What did you see? What they gave you, and try to make it a determination based on that. We know we're going to have to wait till the whole trial and things to come out to see a better angle, if they got one that's even more clear. But under that and seeing that, some people can justify it. And there's others who will say, no, it's too much, right? So the lawyer that is defending him says he don't believe, based on his assumption of what he knows, he don't believe that to be what it is. And so accordingly, the report that I read talked about how this DeCello, the lawyer, he met personally with the chief of these police officers. And according to the conversation that they had between the two, he's told him, according to what he's stating that the chief told him, he hasn't found that evidence. Now, he himself has viewed it, and according to the conversation that is stated by the lawyer that the chief told him, that is basically his side is going to be different than later on, because we pretty much know that he's going to support his men to the point that he can't defend them, right? And so, according to that conversation, the police told him that the movement that he questioned, that he's saying that he didn't believe it was a threat. He said the chief also stated that the movement before the shooting began, the two officers tried to use a stun gun on Mr. Walker and missed. So he's already saying, well, they tried to use a stun gun. So is this trying to make it, well, okay, they tried to get him with the stun gun. So what's the next best thing after the stun gun? And they got other tools they can use. I remember back in the days, those who remember the old school show, Joe Foster. Anybody remember that show? Joe Foster. Might be showing my age a little bit. Joe Foster used to be walking down. He was a beat cop walking down the street. Motherfucker would run down, grab the lady purse and shit and try to run. He'd take the nightclub and throw the motherfucker. They would go between the leg and trip his ass, and he can arrest him. Now we know that's TV. But is that part of the repertoire? Can you get the nightstick too? No, none of that. So the next thing, once the taser don't work, right? Just like when Minnesota, taser, and you really got the gun, right? So taser was the option, but she had the gun. She didn't know, right-handed from a gun, left-handed from a taser, right? But anyway, so the chief already is going into on code mode, yet he just said, well, I didn't see anything evidence, but they did try to taser him. So the next step is once the taser ain't working, what's next? Okay. And again, the lawyer talk about how that parking lot that he ran into was large and empty. Again, let's just see it again. Let you get to see that visual again. He said that the parking lot that Mr. Walker ran into was large and empty. And he did not have a place for him to hide. As you see, there's nowhere to hide once he got in there. It was just open. And if he'd have kept running, he would have went behind in them trees back in that woody part, and he didn't want to go there. He knew. He already knew. So in that situation, if you're running, you decide you're so scared out your wit that you're running, and then you get in this position like Mr. Walker, what would be the best way for you to handle this? Once you decide that I ain't going to run no further because they ain't going to do nothing but get me out there and kill. Should he have dove like Superman with his arms out and just go dive on the concrete and lay out? Could he have did that? Would they would have still found a way to shoot him if he'd have just imagine what I'm saying if you can't perceive it in your mind's eye. Dive like Superman, keep your hands so everybody can see, and then hit the ground straight and stay like that the whole time. Would that have been a way that maybe they could have not justified? But again, if somebody wants to do what they want to do and you give them, again, when they say give them up like an inch and take a foot, if that's what somebody wanted, it didn't matter. But based on they saying that the turn perceived as a threat, so those who might see this and just ask the question, if he would have dove like Superman and just dove to the ground straight out, laid out, would that have been better? Is that what they're trying to tell us? If you run and then instead of you trying to see that they closing on you, just dive straight out and lay out and never turn your head left or right and just lay out straight and just hope that they don't start firing. Maybe that's what they're trying to say. But the Lord said, look, this empty large parking lot, he had nowhere to go. And to say that he was gesturing in a threatening way to shoot before the shooting began. How? He was gesturing, he was just running. But he could feel the presence of them closing in on him. So him trying to just look to see was enough for them, they say, justified for them to shooting him. Well, that's got to go in the hands of the jury, right? They got to have to decide that. And even the lawyer has said, imagine a person running away, starting to turn and look back behind them, then one is running, and then at that point the guns start to erupt. So again, him turning and looking. So how do one try to, deal with that situation if one should get themselves in it? Maybe diving with your hands out like you flying and not turn your hands left or right, dive into the ground and lay straight out. Maybe that might save you. What really would save you is just not running at all. But we understand people can be scared. You can't tell somebody not to be scared. Especially when there's reports and stories that people are being killed. So people have this fear with police when they're being accosted. A lot of people, the minute that blue light hit you, all of a sudden, shit. Right? What I did. So anyway, so that's, that was just a suggestion. Don't follow as I'm saying. I'm just suggesting that if somebody is in that situation, what would be the best protocol for somebody to, maybe for the police to feel like you're not a threat. So if he would have ran and dove, right, like again, like Superman, and dive right to the ground and just lay just like that when he hit the ground, and never turn his hands and just put his face down and let his hands and feet stretch out to show he ain't trying to do nothing. Would that be better for police officers? Somebody who should be in that situation, would that be better? We're just asking a question. So the lawyer, again, Mr. DeCello, he raised a question about the police report narrative. So he's saying the narrative of what they state may not fit according to what they said or what they believe took place, because the video is showing something entirely a little bit different. And all the other circumstantial scenarios may not fit accordingly, because again, they said gunshot is what really got it into this hot pursuit. wasn't about the traffic violation. It was about the so-called shot of the gun. And the thing about it was, they said that Walker had fired a gun while driving away from the officer. So was he shooting at them? He just shot in the car? Okay, does that make sense to you? They're pulling him over, and then they said he's driving off and he shoot. Is he shooting at them? His gun just goes off. Why would a gun be going off? Okay, well, anyway. But again, the lawyer, he says, as I had said, that the rear windshields were intact. He said the front windshields were intact. All the side windows were intact. Now, that doesn't mean that the windows couldn't have been rolled up after the fact, but they're going to have to show that he had his windows down and then that his bullet went out somewhere. Otherwise, if his windows were up the whole time, the lawyer might be right about that, right? According to the lawyer, said there was no call, there was no report, that they seen that there's been no mention by the chief in the personal discussion, him that had a gun was seen outside the car. So he didn't have a gun with him outside the car. There's no report stating that. So this mysterious gunshot, was it true or was it fabricated? It will have to be revealed through the trial and the process. And if it is determined that that was not true, don't mean that the evidence may not substantiate that, because Mr. Walker is not here to, give his presentation about what really took place. So the after fact of ballistics now coming back and saying that the gun and residues was on his hands and body. They found, residue in the car, bullet in the car, right? This is all after the fact. Can that be manufactured? Sure, it could be. Or there may be nothing that can substantiate even the report. But that's have to all go through the judicial process, right? And so they also talked about there was no waving of the gun and the gun pointed at anyone. So where's the threat? Other than the fact that you said that a man running and fleeing, his threat was the fact that he turned his head. Now, they did, according to the report, was that a unspecified gun in the car. Was that his gun? They always talk about cold guns, right? That there could be a cold gun because you're dead. And how does this gun tie to him? Even though we see a gun, do that mean that he had a gun? Just because they now find the gun in his car, but they didn't have it on this person, what good is having the gun? And then you're in a situation where you're going to be in hot pursuit by police. If you already fired a gun at them, you already know they're coming for you. Now, maybe you didn't mean to do it. Maybe the gun misfired. Whatever it may have been, accordingly what they state. But let's say he didn't have none of that. He didn't have gun or none of that. And then now they found the gun in the car. But again, this is after the fact. And so, but they said he was not carrying that or anything else when the police chased him on foot. But they did find a gun in the car. Could that be a cold gun? We don't know. And when they checked Mr. Walker's background, they say all he had is one traffic ticket and he had no criminal record. Let me say that one more again. He only had one traffic ticket and no gun. He had no criminal record. All right. Okay, let's do this again. Take a break. Be right back. Hey, you sitting here watching the video. Why you sitting there? Put your hand on that like button, click it, thumbs it up, share this video, comment. You can like or dislike it. We don't care about that. And also, if you ain't over here and subscribe, what you waiting on? Get yourself over there and subscribe to get on up to WeUpReport so you can stay up, because we're going to keep you up. That's how you help keep this channel going. You can also do some monetary donations. We'll tell you about that later. But right now, wake yourself up, like, share, and comment. And don't forget, when you subscribe on that button, hit that all notifications. We are back. All right, so we are back. Okay, so again, they said his background, 1 ticket, and no criminal record. They talked about how he graduated from Buchel High School. That's in Akron. He used to be a wrestler on the high school team. He was also a worker for DoorDash and dreamed of opening his own business. About a month ago, according to what they said, that he had just lost a girlfriend who died in a car accident. We don't know how that whole story took place, but those are the things that they talked about. So accordingly, this was not an individual the way that they might be painting, because when they showed that freeze frame of him and that video on him having that mask, he was a black man in a mask and he's fleeing. He must be a criminal. He shot a gun. The narrative that they were painting may not be the type of individual who they might be trying to portray. Then the question becomes, was there something that recently happened in Cleveland that, let's say, for instance, I'm not saying, I'm hypothetically speaking, possibility could be having none, or could just for the sake of the video to be speaking. Just recently they had a situation there where an individual had was killed, right? Y'all remember that? Let me show you this. Remember this? Ohio teen beaten to death outside school established by LeBron James Foundation. Let me say that one more again. Ohio teen beaten to death outside school established by LeBron James Foundation. Remember that? The story that the brothers was out at the basketball court. Some white boys decided to do a prank and shoot them with these kind of pellet kind of guns as a prank. And then the brothers chased him down, caught them up, beat him, and then eventually he died, right? And so a lot of people were like, because of the prank, they believed that the severity that the brothers went after them and did what they did and he ended up dying was not justified. So it was like, you didn't have the right to defend yourself, but it maybe was doing too much in their eyes. And so a lot of them may have not liked. They gave the background story to him. He was in high school and he was promising the things of that. But they never wanted to really relay on the fact that what ended up happening. They wanted to downplay it by saying the prank. Now, again, those of us who've been around many suns and many moons and have a lot of that under our belt, we know that in those situations when it's us, it's like the O.J. Simpson case. O.J., again, was always on the other side, right? A lot of people say that O.J. was on the other side and being with, Nicole Brown. And that situation that took place, then it was, now he was back to being, he was with the blacks. You're black again, right? So that whole scenario, right? He was guilty because he killed somebody who was white, and they can't let you have that killing somebody white and think that everything was good. So the nation was split and divided, not so much about what OJ from the black perspective, but just the justice part, because we also had seen what happened with the Rodney King situation and how that ended up turning out. So after this situation was coming, it was like, okay, here we go again. But so when it's happened the other way around, when it's in reverse and you kill them, like you talk about the Oklahoma City, right? That whole city got burnt down based on the simple fact of the assumption that a white girl said that the brother was in the elevator and tried something, and white men came to saved the white girl in distress, and a whole town got burnt down, right? So could this be a way of making a message to those brothers and sisters that's in Cleveland that they ain't going to be having that? Or was it just really the situation at hand? Or what could a message have been, relayed in there? Because I kind of was wondering, well, wait a minute, how did they have also, they went and got what they call them, the marshals, right? They went and got the marshals in that situation. Y'all know that the marshals. Let me show you what they showed in the report. See, 3 arrested for beating death of Akron teenager outside of our promised school. U.S. Marshals say they went and got the marshals. Now the marshal's job is for fugitives. They had put a $30,000 bounty on their head, which is there's 3 of them. That's $10,000 bounty on each one of their head. They had the marshals after, and they end up catching them. They captured them, right? They end up capturing them, right? And so a lot of them were hurt about that. Matter of fact, there's been protests and stuff out there about that whole situation and how they deem that they may think it's not fair or whatever, or they really want to get them prosecuted to the fullest. We don't know what his connections to and how deep they may go into the police. And if they got in a situation with one of you or us, that if you give us the inch, we're going to take the foot. And so with that being stated and said, did Jayland Walker get the recompense of the feeling that they had about what took place with this? What was his name? Lemming? I forgot his first name. Something Lemming. I don't know if it's Matthew Lemming. Forgive me if I'm misspeaking his first name, but Lemming, I think it was his name was, right? So with that being said is that could what happened with Jayland Walker be a consolation to send a message that if y'all stop fucking with us, at no expense will we have any concessions for you? Could that be? Or am I reaching? Only they know. I'm just saying that it's ironic that this recently had taken place, and some people who were seeing the people who were out there protesting, a lot of people said a lot of them looked like they were cops. They didn't look, so they had that cop look. Cops got a certain look, right? And they said the people who looked like that, they looked like they were cops. And again, they used the marshals. How did they get the marshals to get involved in that? When they captured them, I'm pretty sure they didn't get out. They didn't get out of Ohio. So they did, right? Okay. Now, with that being said, let me go ahead and go to my archives. This is a segment where I call it my flashback, right? This is my flashback. And this flashback is going to deal with the fact that back in 2012, again in Cleveland, now all this stuff has happened in Cleveland, just like I said, Tamir Rice happened in Cleveland. This situation has happened in Cleveland. But I think this particular story that was hidden, a lot of people, because I've never heard anybody talk about it, but again, I've been in the business for 10 years. You wouldn't know I can't get 100 views. So it is, again, for you to share the video, like the video, to get some exposure. How can I have been around for 10 years and can't get 100 views? You know why? Because I did something about April 1st of 2014 that's really 8 years ago. And my next video that I will be dropping is going to show you why they always had me in the corner. Why that I foretold something that really is a major problem, and it's probably going to be the big catalyst as again, I'm coming back out here to be a watch on the wall to relay, because I'm the one seeing. I'm not saying the others not seeing, but I'm just saying for me, as WeUpReport, this is what we do. And so again, if you want to contribute to this show, WeUpReport app, Cash App, you can send money, right? If that's what you want to do. But anyway, this flashback is going to take you back to 2019 about a particular story that took place in Cleveland, and the same magnitude of what we're talking about here, about 90 shots. Just in case you didn't know, here we go, showing this, and I'll be right back right after this. So stay tuned for a quick second, and I'll be right back.
In the U.S., protests have greeted a judge's decision to acquit a white police officer charged after killing an unarmed black couple in a hail of bullets. The verdict in the 3-year-old Cleveland case is raising new questions about racism and brutality in the country's law enforcement agencies, questions that have sparked civil unrest and national soul-searching. Stephen D'Souza has the story.
It began with a high-speed chase in November 2012. 2 people speeding away from police. Their car had backfired. Officers thought it was gunshots and pursued the vehicle. The chase involved 62 police cars, reaching speeds of more than 160 kilometers an hour. It ended in a hail of gunfire. 13 officers fired 137 shots into the vehicle. 30-year-old Melissa Williams and 43-year-old Timothy Russell were killed. Both were shot more than 20 times. Neither had a gun. Of all the officers involved, only Michael Mrblowsurmind was charged. He fired 49 shots, some after jumping on the hood of the car. He was charged with 2 counts of voluntary manslaughter. Today, a Cleveland judge said the evidence couldn't prove that Mrblowsurmind alone fired the fatal shots, and his actions were justifiable because, like the other officers that night, he perceived a threat.
Additionally, Mrblowsurmind was acting in conditions difficult for even experienced police officers to imagine.
As the U.S. deals with simmering tensions over the high-profile deaths of African Americans at the hands of police, anger and frustration greeted the verdict.
I'm going to tell y'all something right now. We have no justice.
This shooting was in part the catalyst for a U.S. Justice Department report that found Cleveland police often used unnecessary and unreasonable force, including the employment of poor and dangerous tactics, where avoidable force becomes inevitable. For Timothy Russell's sister, it's clear what took place that night.
Adrenaline was flowing. By the time they caught up to Tim and Melissa in that parking lot, they simply let them have it.
Cleveland's police chief says the force is still reviewing the actions of all 13 officers involved that night, and Mrblowsurmind will remain suspended. Meanwhile, the chief and the mayor urged calm, hoping anger at the verdict won't erupt into violence on the streets. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
And now at 5:30, it made national headlines. 13 Cleveland police officers firing 137 shots, a man and woman killed.
Now 2 police supervisors charged in connection with that deadly night. Prosecutors say Sergeants Patricia Coleman and Randolph Daly failed to manage the police chase that ended in the deaths of Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams. 5-year side investigator Scott Knoll is live outside East Cleveland Municipal Court, where opening statements just wrapped up.
Yeah, this case has already been all the way up to the Ohio Supreme Court just to determine whether or not these trials could happen here. Now, nearly 7 years after that shooting, the first of these trials is underway. Sergeants Patricia Coleman and Randolph Daly both face misdemeanor dereliction of duty charges, both accused of failing to control themselves and the officers under their supervision during what prosecutors called a reckless and outrageous high-speed chase that began when a police officer near the Justice Center heard what he thought was gunfire. Investigators say it turned out to be a car backfiring. 22 miles later, that chase ended with 137 shots fired at Heritage Middle School in East Cleveland. Timothy Russell, the driver, and Melissa Williams, who prosecutors say was trapped and kidnapped, died. Although she never fired a shot, today in court, prosecutor Willa Hemmons said Coleman recklessly violated police procedures and policies during the pursuit.
She threw caution to the wind. She threw reason to the wind. She had a get 'em boys, get 'em kind of mentality that rises to the level of criminal.
But Coleman's defense attorney told jurors while mistakes may have been made by police that night, it wasn't by Coleman. Instead, pointing to systematic failures within the city and the department.
You're not going to hear from one witness in this courtroom from law enforcement who's going to tell you that Patty Coleman did anything wrong.
These 2 trials are expected to take 2 weeks. Reporting live in East Cleveland, I'm 5 Side investigator Scott Knoll.
And we are back, right? All right, so that was the story that happened back in 2012. Well, brother and sister was shot up 137 times by, they say, 13 police officers. Ain't that crazy? Huh? There was the brother and sister that was shot up, Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams. It's going on actually 2 years since they resolved that. Now, again, remember, I just said that case was resolved. I mean, it happened in 2012. The case didn't get resolved into 2019. So it took 7 years to resolve that case. And as you heard in that report there, or that news clipping, only one person, one officer, was the catalyst for the 137 shot. How can you have made him to be guilty when you had 13 other officers? If we do the math, at least 12, what, each one of them shot 12, 11 shots, right? At least 11 shots by each one of them, right? So how you take one individual, which again, I don't know if y'all might be hearing in the background, somebody's out here still popping these firecrackers. That's their business, but if you should hear that, that's what that is in the background. Let's show that. So here's the only person, this officer Michael Brillo was the only officer out of 13 out of 137 bullets shot into. Let me see if I show you that. See, there's the vehicle there, right? 137. Remember, they said that officer Michael Brillo jumped on the hood, and he was, well, I guess you can't even say all the officers had 11. For some odd reason, he had 49. What kind of gun is he shooting? How many times did he reload to get 49 shots off? Think about that. What gun is he using that he's shooting 49 times? I mean, if a gun, how many rounds? He got 15 in the clip, 12 in the clip, 9 in the clip, right? So how many times he unloading, reloading, right? So accordingly, they put it on him at 49 shots out of 137, right? So that's like, what, 88 shots by the other 12, and he had 49. What make him not more culpable? Because you gave him 49, but they can't prove that it was his bullet. That is, or well, matter of fact, they said out of the 137 shots, they said that each one of them, Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams, had 20 shots each out of 137. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's what they stated. And in 2000, I think it was 14, they paid the family $3 million. So that means split the $3 million in half. That's $1.5 million per each. They had lawyer fees. They probably didn't get $1 million after that. And they resolved that by paying them out of 2014. And then it took them 5 years after that to really, they went after to try to make some culpability in the case. They went and got the people who were sitting in the damn office and said they had the jurisdiction and the power to make everybody stop the pursuit. But you heard that so-called lawyer that was in there said she was throwing caution to the wind. She was out there, get them, right? And so they call it dereliction of duty, which was a misdemeanor. Yet these two lost their lives being gunned up. And they slickly said, if y'all kind of heard, that Melissa was kidnapped. So are y'all insinuating that Timothy Russell had kidnapped her and she was at the wrong place at the wrong time? She was actually a victim, and then y'all gunned them up, I don't know, chasing him. But remember, this whole situation started because of what? The assumption of what? That they were shooting. That they said that, again, it was about what? The car backfire. They were downtown Cleveland somewhere, and they chased them for over 22 minutes or 22 miles. And as you heard the sister say, we don't have no justice, and say that the adrenaline of them when they finally caught them in that parking lot. Is there a correlation similar to the Jayland Walker story? So this reason why I'm giving you this is because the same way they dealt with this, we might see the same procedure, because again, sometimes the formula has already been set. So we're going to take one individual, and we're going to make him the culpable. He's going to be the head of it. And then accordingly, to try to adjudicate this situation, can you specify, say that this person is the one that's end up being the culprit, that being the killer? So he can't be, because there's too many bullets. You can't say which bullet specifically killed him. So that means that everybody has to be accountable in some form if they're going to find him to be having any culpability, right? So it's ironic that right on the anniversary of them resolving this almost 2 years ago, that is something similar to the case that really they hid. A lot of people didn't even hear this, never even heard of this. And maybe the first time you hear it right now. So, you know, could that be the formula that might be used? Maybe. But you even see the Department of Justice came in and deemed them to say that they overenforced themselves, excessive, too much. And we see the same thing again, the assumption that Jayland Walker had shot. But what will substantiate that? In that case, when we go back to Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams, it was the assumption of a car backfire that's supposed to be in the shots. What was Monday? Oh, that was last week. Okay, maybe somebody was, maybe somebody was shooting off fireworks that you heard. But you saying there was a flash? I don't know. I think you had to get a better visual than what y'all was trying to show. But that's what they said, right? So you tell me, give me some of your comments in the section there. Elaborate some more to some points that I did not cover. But I appreciate each and every one of you who did click on the video. Again, your way to help make this channel, that's been a dead channel for almost 10 years, is to subscribe, to share. Make sure you hit that like button. Try to push this out as far as it can go, right? Also, for y'all who want to really help me, in another way to say if your contribution is not to, like, say, Cash App at WeUpReport, you can actually go over to WeUpReport, the channel, subscribe to that, right? Go subscribe to that. I also have Black MINDZ News. For those who have already subscribed to that, thank you for that. But I haven't got my 1,000 yet, right? So let's build up WeUpReport. Allow this one to get 1,000. Let's see if YouTube, because you know that at one time, I was actually in the YouTube partnership and somehow they took me out. So let's see, after they, put me in, banned me, put me in, let's see if y'all can help me with this new channel, WeUpReport. Go over there and subscribe. Find it, subscribe to it. Let me see some people in there, and I will shout you out when I see that you did that. And let's see if we can find a way to get something so that I can stay in this game and give you the real reports. I'm not saying that everybody else not doing, but this is what we do, and I think we do it to the best that we do it. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming over here, clicking on the video. This is your host, the Whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds. This is WeUpReport. And to my next show, y'all, and to the next show. Let's get it. Can we get it? No? We ain't ready yet? Boy, still need some help, huh? Let's get it.